Flat Earth friends message me and say, Mark, how about Antarctica and the round earther experiment? You're right, we need to get ahead of this. The globe trolls have gotten together and come up with an experiment, not really an experiment, where they go to Antarctica and just stare and see if the sun sets. That's it, seriously, because we've never thought of that in 10 years. A 24-hour sun in Antarctica does not debunk Flat Earth. The problem is that, one, no one gets into Flat Earth because of the sun, and two, if you did see the 24-hour sun, it would just show that there's something else in the sky that we don't know about and you don't either. It doesn't address anything in physics like gravity, it doesn't address the lack of curvature with long-distance photography, and it literally has nothing to do with all the plot holes tied to every space program in history. So if the trolls want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, make a series of videos, all of which draw more attention to the flat earth theory without me lifting a finger, outstanding. Seriously, where do you think we've gotten the attention so far? Much bigger trolls have been helping us for years, and you want to add to that? Fine by me, it's your money. Do your own research and see who's spreading hate and who is preaching love about the flat earth. Whatever, I'm done.
This is Feature Minor. So Mark Sargent has revealed his thoughts on the final experiment coming up in about a month from now. So a little over a month, we'll see the results come in at the end of December. And so Mark Sargent basically saying that no one gets into flat earth based on the sun. So flat earth information is based on the earth being level and the evidence of that. So seeing a sunset or not, he's saying, is not going to change anything. And actually, it's a win-win situation for the flat earth, because if this gets a whole lot of media attention, he's saying this is going to be helpful to the flat earth, because we've been through this type of stuff before as flat earthers, where media will come in with some type of thing where they think that they're going to get a win out of it, but instead it does the opposite, and it just exposes more and more people to the idea of flat earth. And he's saying basically that if this gets a lot of attention, that's going to be a benefit for the flat earth, because you're going to have the flat earthers still arguing their points about the shape of the earth and how, you know, we got long distance photography and we got no proof of curvature, and that information is going to get through to even more people. So this is a interesting take on the final experiment where, yeah, I mean, the sun is not going to determine the shape of the earth, you know. So I like how he kind of laid it out for the people out there to let you know that this isn't going to be the end all be all that this final experiment guy thinks it's going to be, you know. And I'm still holding out hope that, hey, maybe you're going to see the sunset and that will prove flat earth. I'll take that as a win for sure. I mean, if it goes that direction, I'm going to see that as a victory. I mean, how is the globe earth going to explain a sunset? But if there is a 24-hour sun, well, how are we going to explain that? Well, you got sun dogs, you know, where you have reflective properties of the dome firmament. And so, you know, there's all types of options that we can explore as far as to how could there be a 24-hour sun. I go over a lot of this stuff in my flat earth, final experiment playlist. So I'll leave a link to that in the comment section and description box so you can go over all of my ideas. I mean, we cover the artificial sun possibility where, yeah, a lot of people thought, like I said in my last video, a lot of people thought that the artificial sun idea is saying that the sun we have in the sky now is artificial, and they didn't understand that. No, we're saying that they can somehow maybe try to, you know, if the sun sets, and then they could possibly bring in an artificial sun and make it seem like, oh, wow, the sun is still in the sky, but we just saw it set a while ago, so now the sun's back, and that one could be the artificial sun, you know. That would be how I would suspect they would use any artificial sun technology. Plus, there's a lot of other hypotheses about the possible 24-hour sun on a flat earth. A lot of people have covered this, but I've pretty much covered them all. I mean, even the additional sun from outer ring that we might be exposed to. And then, you know, when it comes down to it, though, what I think they're looking for with the final experiment is the sun circling in the sky and not leaving their point of view. So they want to see in the final experiment if the sun will hover in the sky and do a 360 like it does in the Arctic during the summer solstice. So that's what they're looking for to happen. And I've seen that filmed in the Arctic before, and it's pretty impressive. And so if it does that in the South, in the Antarctic area, well, what would that mean? I mean, that's where I would say that honestly, we would have to look at that and, you know, explain that, figure out a way to explain it. And it wouldn't be the end all, but it would be a interesting thing to witness and to understand if it's actually occurring or not there. I would have to admit. So, like I said, though, it was interesting to see Mark Sargent's thoughts on this whole subject and what he feels about this final experiment. He's basically saying it's something that, of course, I mean, he's saying that, yeah, this is not something that we haven't thought of. It's an experiment that, is something that we've considered before. So now we finally have someone that's willing to put the money up to do an experiment like this. DFTRH had an interesting final experiment idea where he would say that to do a real final experiment, you would have to get two planes going in opposite directions and circumnavigate Antarctica and see how many hours it takes before those planes meet up. So he's saying that would be a more conclusive final experiment. So it would make much more sense because it would be land-based for that experiment to take place instead of a celestial observation like the one Will Duffy's putting together. But yeah, I mean, also it's interesting hearing Mark Sargent's take on this final experiment, because what they tried to do with the Behind the Curve documentary was basically shut down the flat earth and make it sound silly and make it seem as if Jeranism proved the globe earth accidentally. And we had that other guy that was in there, Bob Nodal, and they tried to make it seem like he proved the earth was rotating. But then, you go dig into it more and you see, well, I guess that was deceptive, the way they tried to portray those moments. So Mark Sargent to this day still promotes that movie. And I'm not a big fan of that movie personally. I think, I really would prefer to promote a flat earth documentary, because we have the Hibbler production series where it's actually produced by a flat earther. I would rather put more light on documentaries like that. I don't really see why anyone would be super proud of that Behind the Curve documentary. But I mean, according to Mark Sargent and maybe others, they're saying that documentary actually was helpful because it was on a big platform like Netflix, and a lot of people watched it. And so I guess when it comes down to it, we'd have to look at the views. How many views did that get? Netflix doesn't display views. So we don't know how many views the documentary actually got. But maybe that's where they are supporting it. Maybe they know some inside information we don't, where perhaps that documentary had a substantial amount of views. And from what I understand, it gained Mark Sargent a whole lot of interviews. Because when that documentary was going viral, I noticed Mark Sargent was doing a lot more interviews at that time. People were having him on their show to kind of point at him and laugh at him for what they saw in the documentary. Then Mark Sargent gets on and shuts them down and tells them, what he feels about flat earth, and he breaks it all down. And they're able to see that, oh, that documentary didn't actually make him a globe earther. And they became exposed to a lot of flat earth information that wasn't in the documentary from the interviews. So I guess that's the effect that Mark Sargent is expecting from this final experiment, is regardless of the outcome, he's expecting to get, I guess, a lot of interviews off of it. And if the mainstream media picks it up, maybe CNN, maybe all the major platforms, maybe even Fox News. You never know. Maybe it goes viral, and regardless of the outcome, I guess that would be an opportunity for flat earthers to stand their ground and explain why they still are remaining a flat earther. And if we lose a few flat earthers like Jeranism and Witsit might consider leaving the flat earth movement, well, we'll see what their reaction is. We'll see what their actual reaction is. Are they going to become a globe earther, or are they going to continue to be flat earthers after that? That'll be interesting to see. But when it comes down to it, as long as you got a lot of the main players sticking around and continuing on with the message, this could be a interesting moment, and actually a pivotal moment in history, because this experiment could actually, in my opinion, it could prove flat earth. So we'll see what happens come December 21st or somewhere around that time. We'll see what happens with this final experiment, and we'll see how that goes. But like I said, check out my flat earth experiment playlist to get caught up on all of my thoughts on this experiment, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'll also leave links for you if you want to subscribe to my other channel, where I cover other topics that I don't cover on this channel. I cover a wide variety of topics on my Feed Your Mind 2 channel. I don't really even cover topics about the earth or flat earth or anything like that. So you want to see those types of videos, go to my Feed Your Mind 2 channel and subscribe there. Also subscribe and follow me on my social media, and sign up to my free email newsletters. And if you'd like to support this channel, please donate as little as $1 to help keep this channel online by becoming a YouTube member or a monthly patron. So thanks for tuning in. Let's get 1,000 likes on this video, or at least maybe 500 if we can. So thanks for tuning in. Signing off.